Welcome, delegates, to Lesson 7 in this Parli-Pro course we have on Mun Academy. You might remember in the first lesson that I said that we were going to only cover those rules which were most general and applied to as many people in conference as possible. We're going to break that rule a little bit here today, mainly because just so much of the kids at Mall United Nations are in General Assembly, and especially first years who are probably more likely to be watching this video. Many of you are probably in General Assembly, and it could be useful to have a head start on the specific modifications or additions, more so, which General Assembly has to parliamentary procedure. So, again, General Assembly a little different across three main points, which we'll mention. But it's important to note that General Assembly still completely follows the Parli-Pro rules we've discussed. So, points are the same, motions are the same, yields are the same. The unfriendly amendment debate procedure, which we'll go over later, is the same. There's just a couple modifications, and the main reason for these is because the committee is so large. So as you'll see as we go through these next three points, that they are designed to make sure that debate is as efficient as possible and as local and relatable as possible for delegates in a room which has 100 people in it. So the first modification of Parli-Pro in General Assembly is bucketing. As a kind of forward to this, each resolution which is submitted must have a 15-word synopsis, a maximum of 15 words. It's often also called a title because it's so short. But as you'll see, this will become useful in bucketing. So while in normal, not normal, but in other committees, you'd be in moderated caucus and you might simply motion to hear the resolution authored by Mongolia, right? What the issue is in General Assembly, there's a lot of people. And a lot of ideas have to be heard, and there's often a lot of resolutions on the floor or available to be motioned to at any given time. So instead of motioning to hear a resolution, you motion to hear a bucket, which is the set of all resolutions which have been given to the chair in your particular topic. So, for example, say one of the topics for General Assembly is like climate change, and you write a resolution about climate change. You can't motion to hear your resolution, but you can motion to hear the, say, three resolutions about climate change which are in that bucket. And you can only hear, this is important to note, the most complete bucket out of the three. So there's a maximum of 3 resolutions in a bucket. So ideally, you'd call upon a bucket which has 3 resolutions in it. However, say you have 2 buckets have 1 resolution and 1 bucket has 2. You can call upon the second bucket because it's the most complete out of the 3. Then you have bucketing debate, essentially. And the idea of this, again, about the idea of brevity and being efficient, is that, it's very unlikely that we'll get to every single resolution written and proposed in General Assembly, unfortunately. So the idea is, before you even have the resolution debate, you should have some sort of procedure of making sure we're only hearing the resolutions which delegates want to hear the most. So then the vice chair would read those synopses. So this is useful so that this is your first impression which delegates are having of your resolution as compared to the other 2 or 1. And then only one author from each resolution gives a quick 30-second statement, and this is a lot quicker than you'll think it will be. So because of that, I encourage that this is not a time, because I've tried this before. I've tried explaining every detail of my resolution in that statement, and it doesn't work, and being cut off doesn't help you. It's much better to focus on your objective, like what you're trying to accomplish, and how that's different from the other resolutions in the bucket. So if you think that in industry is the way to solve the climate crisis, then I encourage you to hear my bill. So then that way you're you're cluing in people who are allies of your country in that resolution to vote for it. So then once that resolution, once each statement has been given, there will just be a simple vote, like a vocal vote, unless there's division, about which resolution will be heard, and then that one is heard. Next, we have regional debate, and I'll note that this is in Parli-Pro manuals. The great Bibles which are handed down to us. It's said that regional debate is done for every resolution debate as part of their procedure. But I will note that in my experience, these are really mainly done by the chair occasionally to spice things up, to enhance debate. And if you don't have a lot of time, they're unlikely to do this. This would happen between your non-debatable technical questions and what would become your full committee speakers list. And the idea here is that you split the room, and you'll notice if you're in General Assembly that you sit geographically. So you sit with other Middle Eastern countries, you sit with other Asian countries, North American countries, etc. And the idea of regional debate is that your college advisors and your 3 chairs will get down and distribute themselves amongst these regions, and then you can debate the resolution within those smaller regions. And this is useful, particularly for allies, coming together and having a joint perspective on a resolution. So if you're a Middle Eastern country and you don't support the resolution, it's going to be a good way to speak to countries which are very similar to yours and build that case for why it's specifically bad for you. But one thing you should note is that amendments aren't allowed, which makes sense, right? You can't be changing the resolution without the majority of the committee hearing it. But also points and yielding to summations are not allowed, just for brevity's sake. Because there's so many speeches happening at once in regional debate that you can't have at the end of that the author having a 10-minute summation. Finally, we have a small modification to amendment procedure. Again, because of the fact that so many people will probably be submitting amendments. And that is that you have to have a 1-sentence statement of intent for your amendment, which the vice chair can read when introducing it. And this just makes it crystal clear what the point is, so that for example, the authors can deem it friendly or unfriendly, and if it's unfriendly, for delegates to be able to speak intelligently for or against it. Other powers which the chair have in General Assembly is that because of that lack of time, they can merge similar amendments together. So that way, if there's a lot of unfriendly debate, then you only have that once. And they can also shorten unfriendly debate, mainly if they think that it's a very minor modification. So, for example, say someone wanted to change a definition in the resolution, and the author of the resolution does not believe that's a proper definition of the term. So this is obviously in a case of unfriendly debate, but it's not really that consequential. So the chair might just have a quick pro-con-pro amendment debate. So that's General Assembly.